Hello and good afternoon. Thank you for coming to Data Innovation Day. My name is Nick Wallace. I'm a Senior Policy Analyst at the Centre for Data Innovation. And the Centre for Data Innovation is a non-profit, non-partisan public policy think tank focused on the data economy and on public policies to maximize the benefits of data. And the Centre is part of the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation, which is also a think tank, but it's focused on science and technology much more broadly. It was recently ranked by the University of Pennsylvania as the #1 science and technology think tank in the world. And the Centre is the specific piece of ITIF that's most focused on the data economy specifically. And Data Innovation Day is an event that we run twice a year, once a year here in Brussels and once a year in Washington, DC. And each time we pick a different theme for Data Innovation Day. And my core message for today's event is that data sharing produces a huge amount of benefits in economic terms and in social terms. From the three areas that we're looking at today are healthcare, energy, and the free economy. And greater sharing of data could maximize or enhance these benefits. So take health. Data is driving a lot of very important new healthcare tools, particularly with regards to AI for diagnostics, for example. So I recently spoke to a startup in Israel that was producing an AI tool to help diagnose lung disease. So a lot of serious lung conditions, cancer, emphysema, tuberculosis can show up on medical imaging scans, and radiologists are trained in how to spot them and how to spot the early signs of them. But there are two problems. The first is there aren't always enough radiologists to go around, which means that what radiologists there are have considerable demands on their time. And the second is that to treat diseases, particularly cancer, properly, you need to pick them up early. But the earlier the stage of the disease, the harder it is to spot. And if the radiologists are short on time, your chances of catching those subtle signs start to diminish. So what this startup did was they trained an AI system to spot those signs, and they did that by training the algorithm using a huge quantity of medical imaging data, showing lungs in various different states from healthy to terminally diseased. And the tool helps to make sure that those radiologists with limited time pay attention to the scans where there might be a problem. Reduces the risk of serious diseases going undiagnosed until a much later stage. Now, I don't mean to be glum here or morbid, but there is a high chance that all of you will one day need or want a data-driven health intervention to solve a problem that you have. I mean, there's a not inconsiderable chance that one of you in the room needs this right now, which poses a question. These tools are built using data, and when you benefit from these tools, you're benefiting from tools that were built using other people's data, which raises the question of assuming your data is handled in a way that protects your privacy, because this is healthcare data that we're talking about after all. How justified are you in refusing to allow others to benefit from your data in the same way? This is the guiding theme of the first panel today. The second topic we want to look at is energy. So clean energy, there's a lot about it that's great, but one of the problems with clean energy is it's not as good at responding to peak demand as natural gas. Natural gas is a very flexible supply of energy. You can easily turn it on and turn it off when demand peaks. In the evening, for example, when people put the kettle on during their commercial breaks, their favorite TV show. This is a cliched example, but this is what happens with energy consumption. But we know that by managing electricity grids more efficiently, provided we can develop the right energy storage technology, we can overcome this problem. We can use renewables, use clean energy, and meet peak demand. But to manage those grids more efficiently, we also need more data that can tell us where we're likely to see the peaks and when. This is where the idea of smart grids comes from, and it's very early days for smart grids. This scenario is somewhat in the future, but we have early examples of what it might look like. I mean, you may even have some of this in your house already. Smart thermostats can monitor your energy use, they can learn your preferences, and they can manage your heating in a way that reduces the amount of energy you're consuming without getting on your nerves, because it's still heating the house when you want it. It's just making sure that you're not using the heating when you don't need it. And smart meters, they don't yet give us this automated grid system, but they do give you as an individual a lot of information about how you're consuming energy. And they can help you to cut down. The problem is even those aren't available to everyone yet. I don't have a smart meter and I don't have a smart thermostat, and because of the type of housing I live in, I can't install either. But a while ago, I spoke to another startup, this one based in Berlin, and they developed a small device, magnetic device, that you could attach to any regular household electricity meter, and it would tell you what was consuming how much energy in your house and at what times. And then you could act on that. So the idea of sharing smart meter data at the societal level, the idea of smart grids extends this idea to the societal level. It allows us to manage and plan for where energy is going to be needed, and it's crucial for shifting to clean energy. As I said, it's not the only component. Storage technologies are a factor as well. But again, this raises a question. Since the costs of continued reliance on fossil fuels will not just fall on you as an individual, we can't direct the effects of climate change to your house and no one else's. Why should you hold up the shift to clean energy by holding on to your consumption data? Do you not have a social responsibility to share it so that we to support the move to smart grids? This is the question to guide the second panel today. Now the third panel, I think, may, for various reasons, produce the most heated discussion today. I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether or not I'm right about that. Just consider for a moment what most of you get up to on the internet. Well, I mean, that might be the wrong way to put it. Consider the top 3 websites on the internet, and that's Google, that's YouTube, and that's Facebook. How many of you here pay to use any of those services? And I'm glad to see there are no hands up. Perhaps a more interesting question. How many of you would pay to use those 3 services? You would. And you would. Okay. How many of you would pay to use every single service you access on the internet now? Okay. I didn't think I'd see any hands for that one. But if you would, I'd invite you to pay for the drinks tonight. Now, you don't have to pay for most of what you use online, because it's a two-sided market where advertisers pay for the content you're enjoying, and they do that using data for targeted advertising. And if you take your data out of that system, the ad revenue goes down. And that means either the quality of the service you're using goes down, or it means you have to start paying for it, or it means you see more ads, probably bigger and more annoying ads too, which again poses a question, and this one slightly more metaphorical. Who do you expect to pay for your lunch, and by what means? And I said, this is assuming you're not willing to pay for everything you consume on the internet. If you are willing to pay for everything you consume, then that question doesn't apply to you. But I think the problem we have, and this is getting to the theme for today's event, is that most of our conversations about data and most of our policy debates about data focus on rights over data, which we have. We certainly do have rights over data. But we talk about those with no discussion of our social responsibilities, which leads to policies that undermine the social benefits of data in several fields. So we know that in Europe, data protection is guaranteed in the Charter of Fundamental Rights and in secondary law. The GDPR is coming in next month, and it makes opt-in consent the primary basis for processing data legally. I mean, as policymaker Sol is saying, it puts the data subject in control. It makes you the sovereign over your data, I suppose would be another way of thinking about it. So we know our rights, and we talk about them a lot. And we also, by we, I mean we here in Brussels, we do talk about the opportunities as well. Today is a very busy day in Brussels. There's a lot coming out of the Commission today. There's the new strategy on AI is being published today. There's a new initiative on e-health being published today. So we talk about the rights and we talk about the opportunities. But many of the most important applications, say, of AI in health, to link those two initiatives together, depend on a steady supply of data to train algorithms. And each of us controls our own respective part of that supply. So public policy with regard to data and the debates that shape that policy should balance individual rights and social responsibilities to facilitate data sharing that creates economic and social benefits. And that's why our theme for today is a social contract for data, and it's the title that you all have on the programs that you should have received on your way in. We have legal rights over our data, and we're reminded of that regularly. But if we have legal rights over that data, does that not mean we have responsibilities towards each other? And we at the Centre for Data Innovation think that it does, because our data can play an important social role, and our rights give us power to determine that role. Now, some of you may already know a little about social contract theory. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. A social contract is a set of mutually acknowledged rights and responsibilities that allow us all to live together well. The individual's right is the society's responsibility. And individuals have responsibilities to the society that protects and guarantees their rights. Now, these responsibilities, they might be legal responsibilities like paying tax or serving on a jury, or in the Belgian case, even voting is a legal responsibility. Or they might be more voluntary social responsibilities, which is, I think, more of what we'll be talking about today. So examples would be like donating to good causes, or telling the truth, or speaking out when you can see that there's a problem. These are all social responsibilities of what a socially responsible citizen does in a society that guarantees his or her rights. And we think this is a useful way of thinking about data. Society protects your right to data, or rather it protects your right to data protection. So what are you going to do for society when your data can help it? So we've chosen 3 fields where we believe the question of responsibility is important. And as I mentioned, those are healthcare, they're clean energy, and the economy of free content online. And in these 3 areas, and in others, I don't intend these to be exhaustive, we all stand to benefit from data generated by other people. The question is whether we are willing to contribute, whether we as individuals are willing to contribute to those common pools that drives those benefits. And in each example that we're going to look at today, the social benefits of contributing often outweigh the individual benefits, which incentivizes us to be consumers but not contributors. Or another way you could put that is to say free riders. But if individuals realized their social responsibility toward one another when it came to data, the benefits for all of us would increase. And I think if we can get the proper balance of rights and responsibilities in the conversations we have about data, we'll see the benefits in better healthcare, we'll see it in cleaner energy, and we'll see it in a robust online economy that gives us what we want from it. So to logistics, there'll be 3 panels today. There'll be 1 hour each. There'll be no presentations. The aim is to have a conversation with each one. You'll all get the opportunity to ask questions at the end of each panel. You'll find microphones in the left arms of your seat. You just have to lift it up. The microphones are not wireless. They should be wired. So if you find that yours doesn't have a wire, you need to move to a different seat. You can tweet about the event today, #DataInnovation. I should also tell you that we are filming. The camera is hanging from the ceiling, and we'll have a coffee break shortly after 3 o'clock and a drinks reception shortly after 5 o'clock.